Hi, my name is Ryan Sloan, and thanks for watching today. Today we're going to talk about the act of taking analog sound, like this, and making it digital, as well as making digital sounds come back to the analog realm through your headphones and through your speakers. You do this with audio interfaces or converters. Let's get to it. So for my space, I wanted to have a decent channel count, and I also wanted a decent amount of DSP, which stands for Digital Signal Processing. Think plugins. Sound quality was also one of the most critical things I was after. And you'll find that audio interface and converter prices can vary very, very wildly. I think a lot of people just getting into recording don't understand that the audio interface or converter you choose has a massive, massive impact on your sound. Like your studio monitors, you're running everything through your audio interface or converters, so choose wisely. The last 5 or 6 years, I've been using Universal Audio Apollo interfaces, and my rig right now, behind me here, has an Apollo X8P and an Apollo X8. Prior to that, I used an Avid or DigiDesign HD TDM system, and then an HD native system. And those were really pretty great, but for me, the technology and the convenience of the Universal Audio system was just a no-brainer. Here are the things I really like about the system. One, it's modular. You can actually add multiple Thunderbolt interfaces in a chain to combine the audio inputs and outputs in the Universal Audio Console software and get access to the DSP. So tying right into that, DSP is actually the next thing I like here. If you've been watching the channel for a while, you'll know I really enjoy Universal Audio UAD plugins. They sound about as close to the real deal as you can get, and by putting the X8P and the X8 together, I actually have 12 DSP processing chips, which allows me to easily do a mix where I'm using a huge amount of plugins, from EQ to compression to various effect plugins. It also works with the Townsend Labs Sphere microphone. And I don't know about you, but if I don't have enough and start getting close to that DSP ceiling, I guess we'll call it, I start to get a little bit paranoid. Maybe I'm just weird that way, but I think a lot of people kind of work and mix that way. The Apollo console is the next cool thing. Watch my video on the Apollo console if you want to take a quick trip around the interface and getting around in it. It's an often misunderstood, and I think it's something people can get confused by, but here's the basic idea. It allows you to record with UAD plugins while you're tracking. It does this by bypassing the recording software on the record arm channels and just engaging the DSP and the hardware interface itself. This is one way it's very similar to the old Pro Tools HD DSP systems of the past, with a much lower price tag. You also have a lot of flexibility with how you record. If you dial in the console and get it sounding amazing on the front end, you can actually record right to your DAW program. I've tried lots of variations, and I usually prefer to record to my DAW dry, but if you build an inspiring effects chain on the front end in the console, you can get it to sound absolutely fantastic and just record that. And again, why would you do this? It all comes down to the performance. If an artist is more inspired, the take and performance are just going to be better. This can't be understated, and this is the big selling point of these systems. I can have 50 plugins running across all the input channels, and I'll never have a hiccup or a dropout. That's huge. Audio quality is the next core thing, and it's really the most important thing, right? Universal Audio worked to really up their converter game on the X series of interfaces, and they really do sound great. The interfaces are very quiet and clean, but you can just as easily grunge it up if you want with their unison preamp technology. And that's a whole other thing for a whole other video, but a very cool technology. So you can see there were just a multitude of reasons to go this route. 9 times out of 10, if you call me to see which interface you should buy and you want a more professional option, this is what I'm going to recommend. The only thing the Apollo series can't bestow upon you is limitless talent. I'm sure they're there and we're all working on that, right? Other things to know. By going with an interface or converter with higher quality components and a great signal path, you'll capture more of the essence of what you're recording. One way I describe it to people is adding dimensionality to a recording. A cheaper interface or converter will just sound a bit more flat or two-dimensional. Let's also talk about what an interface and converter are. An interface is more of an all-in-one device that will typically contain microphone preamps and the analog to digital converter to get the sound into your computer, as well as a digital to analog converter to send the sound out to your speakers or your source. They may also have DSP, like the Universal Audio Apollo interfaces I use, and they'll also typically have at least one, if not two or more headphone outputs per unit. The idea is that an audio interface is a one-box solution to get great recording quality. A converter, on the other hand, is just typically specializing in converting an analog signal to digital or vice versa, and generally they don't have any preamps. Examples of great converter companies of today and back in the day would be Apogee, although they also make interfaces to muddy the waters. Lynx comes to mind as one of the best converters out there with their Aurora line. And then you also have Burl these days that are pretty stunning sounding. I like Burl because they have transformers in their signal path to impart more of a sonic character on the sound. Almost think of it like an analog console type sound that they're imparting on the front end to get more character. Now, let's get back to audio interfaces. The newer audio interfaces out there, even in the sub $300 to $400 realm, are all awesome these days. They're really fantastic. And that's the great thing. You can capture the audio and make pro-level product as far as recordings go on these new boxes, assuming the mixing is done well. Let's talk about products to buy in various price ranges. Okay. So if you want to spend $300 or less on an interface right now, I'm going to recommend the Universal Audio Volt. It doesn't have DSP, but it does have great sound quality that bests just about everything in the price range. And you can also get Volt interfaces with a built-in, what they call 76 compressor based on the 1176, which is really awesome. They also have vintage mic preamp mode with tube emulation circuitry. So it's a fantastic way to just get a great sound on the way in very easily. Honorable mentions in this category would be the Audient ID14, now on the Mark II version, and the Motu M4. The ID series is kind of tried and true out there. It's been a top seller for years, but Audient really did do it right with this line. In the Motu M4 and also M2 are newer options that have been out since the end of 2019, but they did really up their sonic game with the converter chip on this one. And it's more purely clean, I would say, but the whole circuit path is great and the price is really amazing. Those also assume you want to record just a few channels at a time. I know a lot of us work at home by ourselves, so we don't always need tons of channels. Let's say you want at least 8 channels though at a time. What should you get? The Focusrite Scarlett 18i20 is really a staple here in the market. It's $549 right now and sounds great. It's easy to set up and use, and I don't know if there's much more to say about it than that. Sounds good, price is good, easy to use. Let's also mention the PreSonus 1824C. It has 8 mic preamps as well, and is very similar really to the Focusrite, but there is a huge benefit here, and that is that it comes with Studio One Artist in the box, which sells for $100 on its own. So remember from episode 4, I mentioned that Studio One is one of the most popular recording softwares on the market right now. Now, let's jump up to the $1,000 to $2,000 range. This is where you can start to get some really pro-grade stuff these days. Something like the RME Fireface UCX is a great thing to dig into if you want wide compatibility with PC and Mac and even iOS. The Apollo Twin X line is stellar, and that's my preferred box if that will give you enough channels. And if you want to go with the highest end products with decent channel counts, definitely take a look at the Apollo X series. Click the tab up above to jump over to my Apollo line overview if you want to go into all the different models they have with specific channel counts and features and price points. Now, there are also times when you may want to use converters or other specialized systems, but those setups are more case by case. There's not an overarching solution in those cases. So feel free to reach out to me directly with any questions on those particular boxes. I hope you found this video informative and learned a little something. If you have any other questions, drop them in the comments below or email me directly at hello@thegearcage.com. My name is Ryan Sloan. See you next time, all right?